This is a good versatile way of making loops, paternoster loops, all sorts of things in your line. Just form an overhand knot, go through it 6 or 8 times. That's important. Go through a few. Now you can make that loop as big as you want, depending on what sort of size loop or snood you want the other side. Split it in the middle of the twists, like so. Pull that loop through. So now you've got that sort of thing. And you're going to pull that up tight. Now you can make this loop 20 inches long, 30 inches long, whatever you fancy. So you can either have standoff loop like that, which you could, for instance, just put a hook on, simple as push him through there, push the hook through the loop. You could have it like that. That would be a good one in the surf. I would have the hook upwards for preference like that. If you were fishing a fairly wild surf, that would certainly be tangle free. You could make the loop a bit longer and put one hook above, just sliding free on there. Make a pennel, one sliding free. Should have made it a bit longer, never mind. Have the other one on there, like so. So you could have a pennel, nice and simple. Obviously on a longer, although saying that, if you're fishing a wild surf, the less the better. The other thing you can do is cut one side. Now you'd have a single standoff loop you can tie your hook onto, on a swivel or anything you want. If I was rock fishing, for instance, I would just go to the other end there and put a figure of 8 loop in it. Like so. Pull him up tight, put my rotten bottom directly onto there. So I've got an entirely hook on there, down to nylon loops, rotten bottom on the end, lead weight on there. You've got an entirely nylon rig, no ironmongery, less to lose, and so on. So that is a blood loop knot. I'll show you in a minute how you can use a blood loop to actually join 2 pieces of line together. This only works with line that's about the same thickness. So twist him round. We'll only do 4 and through the middle. So now you've got that. Twist him round, 4 and up through the other side. Where's he gone? There we go. So now you've got 2 looking like that. If you'll get out, there we go. Now you should lubricate that, but if you pull it together, you have a lovely joining knot, and you've got, could have made that any length you want, so you'd have a standoff snood again. Very useful. So if you're making up rigs on the beach, on the rocks, on the pier, you don't need any ironmongery. If you really don't want to, you can just go straight for nylon and just use a blood knot, blood loop, to make snoods, to make double ones, to make loops, single ones, whatever you fancy. It's extremely versatile and easy to do when you're out. Here's one for joining 2 lines that people keep going on about. So we will do it. So a bit more. You just want to form a loop around the one piece, go through over both lines, You should go 6. I'm just going to go 3 there so you can see. So that's one side of it. And the other side, form another loop and go through. Should go 6 again, but I'm going to go 3. So you end up with that. You can pull each one separately tight, so, and it goes like a barrel. Pull this one tight like so, and you can pull the 2 together. Uni knot, double uni knot, tie 2 lines together. Again, if you really want to, you can come out of it with a snood, any length you want. But simple, nice knot, nice and neat, because I just used it just now. If you want to put a loop in the end of your line, just to slip a lead weight into, so you make a nice big loop. Just make your overhand loop like that, but don't go through. Go around that main line, over the top, and over, back through, if you'll go. So you've got that. Snug him up tight, nice figure of 8, and you've got a nice big loop, big as you want. You can just slide your lead weight straight on there, or if it was the end of a snood, put a hook on and use that knot as your worm stop. You could slide a bead up there first actually, and have your hook in, useful. I use that sort of thing a lot when I'm rock fishing with the rotten bottoms. Put a spark plug on the end. So it's an easy loop, you just tie it up. Every time you lose it, you just tie it up again. Takes seconds. It's nice and strong, but not too strong. But if you want it to be strong in your main line, that'll be fine. Here's a really simple, quick one that will join lines of different thicknesses. In this case, we've got the blue is 50 and the yellow is 30. Just lay the 2 pieces together, 2 ends, form an overhand, go through once, 2, 3, and 4. That's why it's called a 4-turn water knot. And just lubricate him and pull him up tight. So, and you have joined your 2 dissimilar lengths of nylon together. It's not normally used in freshwater for making droppers, and if you do use it, always use the dropper that's hanging down, which would be this one, because this is your main piece of line. That's your main piece of line, and then that would be a dropper. I'd never use the top one, because if it bends down with a fish against that, it can snap. So off with him, trim off the daggy bits, and then you would have your dropper. And that it's also useful for putting on, for instance, a rotten bottom. When you're fishing rocks, you could have 30-pound main line and a 6-pound rotten bottom. Join them together super quick with that. Tie another loop in the end, put your lead weight on. All these knots are really nice and quick and easy to tie when you're out, especially when it's raining or it's cold or it's dark or you're just fed up and bored. Whatever, you want stuff that's easy to tie. If you're rock fishing and you're losing a lead weight every single cast, you don't want a complicated knot to put your rotten bottoms. And this one I've nicked off the drop shot in, boys. And it occurs to me that if you're fishing a really heavy surf like we fished the other day, this sort of thing might just work. So put your hook into an overhand loop and just pass it through the loop over and over a couple of times. That's enough. So you've got that, and then tighten it all up So now your hook is just trapped on your main line. Now, it'd be no good for fishing a worm or anything like that, but if you were fishing like I do, head of a joey mackerel, I would use a bigger hook than that and just stick the chin of my joey mackerel on there, and I would have a pretty much tangle-free rig in a huge surf, and any fish in there is just going to grab that and go and get hooked. And I would recommend having the hook point up like that, but I'm going to try that next time we have a big surf, because when we did fish the other day we got tangled up constantly, whereas that would be nice and simple and save you a lot of untangling time and a lot of frustration, and you would know your bait is fishing the whole time. And obviously when you cast it out, your line's all going to be pretty much flat horizontal like this, so it's going to be down near the bottom or on the bottom, or you can let it droop. But that would certainly be totally tangle free in really turbulent water, so I'm definitely going to try it out, but like I say, with a bigger hook.